Welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Dhorea Ramanula, and I will be your host and your moderator. I am a serial entrepreneur. I'm a community builder, best-selling author, project coordinator at the University of the British Columbia in the Okanagan. I'm co-founder of National Suicide Awareness Day, and I'm deeply passionate about helping save and change lives through entrepreneurship, healing, and community connecting. Oh my goodness. I also work as a RISE facilitator. For those who aren't familiar with RISE, we are a national organization that empowers individuals with mental health and addiction challenges to become entrepreneurs and transform their lives. Through flexible financing, training, mentorship, and other tailored supports, RISE helps people learn the skills and access the capital that they need to build a small business for meaningful employment, economic empowerment, and personal well-being. Oh my God, today we are celebrating International Women's Day. Do you know what it took to get here? Congratulations to all of you. We'll be looking at a hot topic, okay, among many women entrepreneurs, how to build businesses while also nurturing our mental health. And I'm excited to dive into today's panel. But before we start, first, I want to take a moment to acknowledge that while this is a virtual platform, it brings us together from across Turtle Island. The RISE head office is in Toronto, the traditional territory of many nations, including Mississaugas of the Credit, Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, and the Haudenosaunee, and Wendat peoples. This land is now home to many diverse nations, Inuit, Métis peoples, and covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. For those who are settlers to this land, we invite you to take a moment, take a breath in, to reflect on your role and your relationship with all Indigenous peoples, and hope that we can work together for a better and more equitable future. And if you do not know where you're at, please go check it out and find out, because knowledge is power. And I think it's beautiful to acknowledge where you live. Okay. So housekeeping and recognition. We will be recording today's session so that others can benefit from the insights of our panel. We would ask that you turn off your video if you don't wish to appear in the recording, and that is your right. We will open the floor for audience Q&A at the end of the session, so please hang on to your questions till then. Write them down, please, because this panelist is going to ignite some fire in you. I know it, okay? As we get started, I'd like to recognize the Government of Canada's Women Entrepreneurship Strategy, which funds RISE, Women Plus Entrepreneurship Program, and today's panel. And for that, we deeply, deeply thank you. Our thanks as well to We Canada Project for its support of our Women in Entrepreneurship program, and to the Unsinkable for its support developing and promoting these events. And, you know, we couldn't do this without sponsorship. We couldn't do this without community, and we couldn't do this without each and every one of you individually. Having said that, I really, really want to create a safe space here today. I know it's virtual, but it's possible. And I want a place where people can be heard, seen, and validated. So please bring that through with you as you ask your questions and as you lean in and listen to these beautiful panelists today. So let's get to the reason why we're here. I have the pleasure and the honor to introduce our panelists. Our first one is Aisha Addo, joining us from Mississauga, Ontario. She is the founder of Power to Girls Foundation, beautiful name, by the way, a nonprofit organization focused on connecting girls and mentors with role models. Does it get better than that? She is also an award-winning entrepreneur behind My Power app. Go check it out. A social connection app that creates a safe online space for girls to access mentorship and educational resources. Our second panelist, Nicole Richard, joins us from West Kelowna, BC, where her business, Wax Pencil Imagery, is based. Nicole began as a photographer and has continued to evolve into a brand strategist, producer, and community advocate. And she's a pretty big deal here in BC. I just want to say that because I'm in BC as well. Huge shout out. And our third but wonderfulest panelist, Summar Bourada. Did I get it right? And she joins us from Ottawa, Ontario. She is the founder of Golden Girl, a jewelry brand that sparks conversation, which I love, raises awareness, and builds community around invisible illness. Thank you for what you do. She is also a storyteller and Unsinkable, where she shares her story to break down barriers and inspire others. You are in for such a treat today. Welcome. I know we're all looking forward to this and from hearing from each and every one of you. So here we go. Okay. Ready? Question number 1. I'm going to take a sip of water before we go. To start, can you briefly introduce yourself, your business, and what inspired you to pursue entrepreneurship? We'll start with you, Summar.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Summer. I'm a mental health and women's health advocate. And like Dhorea was saying, I'm the owner and founder of Golden Girl, which is a Canadian jewelry brand that I built to support those facing adversity, and specifically battling mental illness and women's health conditions. So essentially, what prompted me to start this was that I myself am afflicted by quite a few mental illnesses and women's health conditions. And essentially, I just felt the need for a little bit more representation because there are millions of us that are struggling out there who battle in silence. And I wanted to create something that would give us the opportunity to kind of come together and raise awareness for these conditions. It was also an opportunity where, our passions as entrepreneurs, the drive that we kind of have within us, could combine with that sense of fulfillment and purpose. So, yeah, that's a little bit about my backstory.
Thank you so much. I love it. And what I will say to you is thank you, because it's not a comfortable conversation, but it's a necessary one. And we need to start having them at boardrooms, in council, at government levels, in our own households. And so I sincerely admire the folks that work quietly behind the scenes. Thank you so much. So the next person, Aisha, would you like to answer that question? And I'll repeat it if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Okay, to start, can you briefly introduce yourself, your business, and what inspired you to pursue entrepreneurship?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Welcome, everyone, and thank you to the RISE team for having us here today. So my name is Aisha Addo, and I'm the founder of Power to Girls Foundation, and my Power app. So Power to Girls is a nonprofit organization. We work primarily with Black and marginalized girls, providing programs in mental health, entrepreneurship, leadership, personal development, and mentorship programs. And I think it kind of like segued into like the online aspect post COVID, actually during COVID, because we couldn't come together, and we were trying to figure out how can we duplicate the experiences that we have in person online. And that was how my Power app came about. But what inspired me to start this business, honestly, it's because it was something that I needed when I was growing up and I didn't have it. I came to Canada when I was around 14, and the experience as, a Black woman, a Black girl at that time, trying to navigate, trying to find yourself around, like trying to find your place in, Canadian society was really hard. But then I also recognized that that was the experience that other girls were also having. So it really started out with literally 6 girls, and us just venting and talking about all the things that we needed but didn't have access to. And 13 years later, here we are. So it really started from a personal need. And yeah, that has been the passion and the drive ever since, just creating spaces and creating opportunities that I wish I had for other girls. Yeah.
I love that. And I'm going to say on behalf of the community, thank you, because It's particularly special and moving. Excuse me. No crying yet, Dory. It's too soon. It's especially moving to see women of color paving the way, and you're creating a better future and a better landscape for girls, and we desperately need that. So, on behalf of the community, I thank you so much. Nicole, I'll ask you the same question. To start, can you briefly introduce yourself, your business, and what inspired you to do entrepreneurship? I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Thank you to Rise, and just so excited to be here. My main purpose in life is to make sure everybody knows just how amazing they are and how capable they are and that they're enough. So that's what I live for. And so this is such a great opportunity for me. My name is Nicole Richard, and I'm founder of Wax Pencil Imagery, which is a photography media marketing company in British Columbia. I started this business in a really strange way. I had suffered with massive social anxiety and depression for about, 30 years and did a lot of healing with that. And once I finally got to the point where I was ready to step out, I wanted to find a way to get through that social anxiety. And so I developed a project where I had to go and photograph, using my skills that I had, photograph people I'd always wanted to interact with. And I raised money for an organization. The bridge between that and entrepreneurship just sort of happened. I didn't plan a business. It just sort of happened with one of those people saying, "Can you do headshots for us?" Yeah, what's a headshot? I can probably do that. Well, 7 years later, I'm sitting here living the dream, just connected to community and use my business to give back and finally making income for my family, which was really important to me because I'd never done that. So that's my business journey. It's a strange one, but it's a beautiful one. And I want everybody to know in this room, if I can do it, you can do it because I'm a hot mess.
I'm just going to speak because both Nicole and I are in British Columbia, and we're actually quite close as well. And I've watched her growth in her business, and the way that she leans into community is so massive. And here's what I will say. Sometimes when you are stuck in a certain situation and you think it's overwhelming, and then you push through, this human's actually swung the pendulum the other way. And we walk into a room and the energy shifts and changes. And to hear Nicole's story from having debilitating anxiety to not wanting to leave the house to now going in and shifting the trajectory of the room and then capturing moments and memories, massive. So thank you for being humble, but like I'm almost singing your praises because I've watched it. Okay. So I'm going to go on to the next question. I would like you all to think about, speak to us about how mental health and entrepreneurship are linked to you individually. In what ways does running a business support your well-being? And where have you found it challenging? Now we're getting into the nitty-gritty, and feel as free to share as much or as little as you want. Remember when I said we're creating a safe space? So we're ready when you are. And Summer, would you like to kick us off?
Absolutely. So for me, a little bit about my background with mental health. I struggle with major depressive disorder, so clinical depression, PTSD, CPTSD, and high functioning anxiety. So going into owning a business, I knew that my mental illness were going to be kind of like my coworkers. That didn't necessarily make it easier. There's so much that living with mental illness or just struggling with mental health impacts you on the daily, right? So it can make like simple and mundane tasks super difficult. It can set you back days. But for me, and the way I tried to look at it, it was also something that could kind of fuel my need for change. So there's a lot that is challenging and there's a lot that's been really supportive. So I'll try to start with the challenging and end on a high note if I can. Um, Challenging for my well-being. I mean, I think as entrepreneurs and even just as women and driven women, like probably everyone in this room or virtually, we have really high and sometimes even unrealistic expectations for ourselves that flow into our businesses. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but when you struggle with mental health and illness, it means that sometimes, you have trouble setting boundaries because you're driven and you want to accomplish a lot. So that could look like working extremely long hours, not taking proper breaks. And I think when we fail, because everyone does, it feels a lot more personal. It hits you hard. And it can be a little bit, at least for me, a little bit more challenging to kind of separate the business from myself. So if I have a bad review or somebody wasn't happy with the product, that hits me hard and it's personal, because Golden Girl is me and it's a representation of all of us who have struggled or battled something. So those are kind of one of the big challenges. And I think that's just a vicious cycle that I've figured out now, kind of how to separate and break down, but it's something that I think is extremely challenging for sure. Um, in terms of supportive of my well-being, I think one thing I knew entering my career decades ago was that I am not built to work a 9 to 5. It doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for my body. It does not work for my brain. So having your own business, you kind of have that freedom to create your own schedule. But in that, you get to prioritize, your well-being. So I'm not restricted or limited by the demands of someone else, but that I'm creating for myself, which I think is a really beautiful thing. It's also healing. My business is purpose driven, so I use it as an opportunity to publicly share my lived experiences, with the hope of helping other people feel a little bit less isolated in their healing, in their struggles, what they're battling, no matter what it is or what it looks like. So I think that's been the number one takeaway for me was that this opportunity created a space for myself and other people to heal as well.
Well said. Well said. And I appreciate the vulnerability. And here's what I will say, because I'm also neuro spicy. I know you're all shocked, right? But in that, I think that's also what draws us to entrepreneurship. And if you can find a pain point and help someone in a unique way that's exciting, that actually fuels the mental health issues and the other things that come into light. So I love that you brought that up. Thank you, Summer.
Thank you.
Same question, Aisha, I'll go to you, but I will repeat it. So speak to us about mental health, entrepreneurship, and how they're linked for you. And then in what ways does running a business support your well-being? And where have you found it a little bit challenging?
Yeah, no, that's a really loaded question, and it's a very it's one that requires all of us to be vulnerable in a way, because yeah, like entrepreneurship, they always say it's not for the weak. But for me personally, it's very interesting because I can definitely relate to what Summer was saying around how, you feel like as you are growing as an individual, your business is also growing. And oftentimes because it's mirroring you, when you are experiencing the lows, it seems like the business is also experiencing the lows, right? But for me, in addition to that, it's also very tricky because I get the opportunity of working with young people. And mental health is one of the key things that we're always, talking about, and we're always trying to understand within ourselves. So it got to a point where, like I can almost feel when it's like, okay, this is a lot. I'm carrying a lot. And just trying to find that balance of, okay, I think it's time for you to put this down, Aisha, and like, get back to yourself, right? Because it can be, to be quite honest, like, and anybody that is in a service-based industry will tell you it can be very draining. So just trying to find that sweet spot where it's like you're still able to show up for the people that you're working with, but then still being authentic to yourself and not allowing, the experiences, sometimes the trauma, kind of.
Oh, we froze. Ah, and she was right at the sweet spot. Okay.
Can you hear me?
You
Oh,
just
wait, can you
froze
hear me?
for a second. I was like,
Oh
and
my
you
God.
froze at the sweet spot.
Crazy, very serendipitous. Yeah, no, but really just trying to find that sweet spot and trying to make sure that in as much as I am being a safe space for other people, I'm also being a safe space for myself. And I think that is really important. And that's one of the things that I've also been able to um some of the tools that I've been able to just pick up in terms of like being there for myself as well. Because over the years it had been very challenging, like, experiencing burnout, experiencing like a whole lot of stuff, and you're like, this is a lot, right? This is
Yes.
this is a lot. But then I also understand, the position that I'm in, but then I also understand the space that we're creating for these young people. So just making sure that like I'm taking care of myself in order for me to be able to take care of them. And I think that's been the way that I've been able to balance it all. But then I think the key thing is that, and this goes like, across for all of my team members, is that like before we can be a safe space to anybody, we have to first feel safe within ourselves, and be a safe space for ourselves. So I think that's been
Brilliantly said. Brilliantly said. I really appreciate that. It seems like from looking inwards here or outwards that you found that sweet spot. So thank you. So Nicole, the same question goes to you.
Yeah, I echo Summer and Aisha so much on this one. For me, entrepreneurship was really the only answer. Just like Summer was saying, like I'm not built for 9 to 5. I am not built for 9 to 5, and I'm not built for worrying about letting someone down, like having a boss, and that worry for me was so hard that it's what kept me from working until I was 40 years old. So entrepreneurship is what helped me work. I had a counselor that I remember saying to you, I will never be able to work. I will never be able to work. And I believed it. And she said, no, my dear, you're an entrepreneur. And now I see exactly why that is and how that made sense. Because, like Summer says, you can create your own schedule, and having that control is incredible. Like, I know anybody with anxiety, if we have control of things, we feel a lot better. So that's amazing. I love too, like I was it Summer or Aisha was saying that I get to create a business that's meaningful and purposeful in the world, and I create an identity for myself. I create an identity for myself. Like that's so big. If you work for somebody else, it's so easy to say, "Oh, what do you do?" "Oh, I'm an analyst for Bank of Montreal," you know? But for me, having the identity of running this business and running it with purpose and with people based, is really, really good for my self-worth. Those are a couple things that come to mind. I could talk forever. You're gonna have to cut me
Yes,
off, Doria.
I
Um,
will.
do you
And
want
what
to
I
cut me off, or can I just tell you one of the things that's difficult for me?
please,
Okay, for
please.
sure, the obsessive thinking and the all-encompassing, like, wow, Aisha and Summer, like, I could go 24 hours a day thinking about business, and I have to be really careful about cutting it off. But the funny thing is that with one thing I've never gotten rid of for social anxiety is the sweat attacks. Does anybody else get these? Like, it's horrific. My sweating is horrific. And some of the women in the room here, like Tamara, will know it. Um, I carry a fan around
Perfect. You know
and
what
a
I love?
cloth.
You know what I love about this, Nicole? The vulnerability and the truth telling, because we all, and this is the beauty of entrepreneurship, we all find little things that we can do to tweak what we perceive, so we have a thing in mental health and addiction, whether real or perceived, it's real for you. So I love that you found things to tweak what it is that you need to do in order to be your best
Well,
self.
and just to live with it. That's the thing. You
Yes.
just, you take what you got and you go with it.
Absolutely. So I'm going to
Yeah.
segue to the third question. Thank you, Nicole. How has your approach to mental health, well-being, and balance evolved as your business has grown? So we're just sort of stacking on from the last question.
I'll start again. Yeah, so there's been a lot of growth over the past, over 5 years now I've been in business, but it did take a lot of time to come to certain realizations. So I don't want to say there was just a moment of clarity and I knew what I was doing. I think anybody that is an entrepreneur knows that you're constantly growing and evolving. And most of that, unfortunately, stemmed from learning the hard way, which is going through struggle. But a couple things that I've learned would be just, just like my mental health, growth is not linear in a business either. You're going to have great quarters or years or whatever it might look like, and there's going to be other ones that aren't so great, and that's okay. Just like we will have bad days and we will have good days with our mental health. Um, so I think one lesson I learned was just not to compare my successes or failures to that of others. Each business, just like each person or people or whatever it might be, is unique. So that was something I kind of had to separate, because I'd be looking at other businesses that started around the same time as me and think, well, why do they have so many followers on social and I'm still here, and whatever it might be, but they're all very different, right? And when I first started, I think one of the things I had to learn was not to respond to everything immediately. Kind of clarify my expectations. Like if I got an email, I was 11 o'clock, I should reply to that right now. No, kind of have to set those boundaries, right? Because my well-being comes first. And that was just something that took a long time. And I'm still bad at that. Boundaries is they don't exist most of the time. So that's really, really tricky. But something I've said in other talks and I've heard someone else say, and that I've really kind of ran with, was that I'm not a first responder. And unless someone messages me in crisis, this overwhelming, kind of all-consuming need to grow will still be there when I am feeling like I have the capacity to help them or answer them or whatever it might be. So that's something that I try to kind of refocus, is that unless a life is in danger or somebody really desperately needs me, this can probably wait. That email can wait, that task can wait, whatever it might be. So I think to summarize, my general approach would just be that my mental well-being has to come first.
Yes.
I'm depriving myself and my business if I'm not honoring my rest and my care and giving it everything I can.
And Summer, you touched on, so I hope people are taking notes, because you touched on some very important things. And I will say, I used to work in the downtown east side, and we were first responders. And even as first responders, we have to step into the situation calmly and collectively. We're not running towards it, even if it's a fire.
Right.
Do you know what
Right.
I mean? So well said. Well said. Thank you. So the same question goes to you, Aisha. Would you like me to repeat it?
No, I think I remember this. It's very interesting because I think one of the key things that everyone would, echo would be boundaries, right? Is that like as you grow within your business and even as you grow as an individual, boundaries has to be, it has to be reassessed, it has to be enforced, and it has to be something that even you as an individual, you take seriously. So for me, like boundaries it has been great. It's like I'm just like, okay, no, we can't do this. This is not good for us. Um, and not being afraid to say no. I think especially when you are in an industry that is constantly requiring of you to show up, finding that balance and being able to say, actually, no, I don't think I can take this on right now, and not being offended when other people say no to you. A lot of times we're thinking about our mental well-being without taking into account the people that are around us as well, right? I identify as an empath, so it's usually it can be a bit draining when I can sense, someone's hesitation towards something, but then they're like, no, I can, but it's like, no, but you can't do it. It's okay. Like, it's okay to offend me, right? So creating that space for even the people that you work with to say, actually, Aisha, I don't think I can take this on. And, kind of like being able to respect that, not in a way that is still damaging to whatever it is that you're doing, but in a way that also honors them and their experience, right? So for me, I usually like work at odd hours. So even in my email signature, I had to literally put in there that like, listen, I'm sending this at a time that works for me. You don't have to respond right away, right? Because this is the time that I'm available to do this, and that's the reason why I'm doing that. And I think it really allowed people to also just be a bit calm and know that like, oh no, there's no rush in this. Like, she's sending it at a time that she's available, and there's nothing wrong with that.
I love
And then I
that.
think this one is also going to be really, really hard for a lot of us, is like the comparison thing. And I love the fact that, like, Summer mentioned it, because it's like when you are in the service industry, or like when you're an entrepreneur, you're always kind of like indirectly looking at, oh my God, look at what they're doing. How come
Yes.
we can do that? Oh my God, they got that grant, but we applied too. And it's always that constant battle of like, are we not good enough?
Yes.
And I think that in itself can take such a toll on your mental well-being
Yes.
that it affects the way that you show up in spaces. So just being mindful of that and like just being true to yourself has been very like really vital, and also just like literally always reminding yourself that like you are in competition with yourself, nobody
Yes.
else, right? So the person that you were yesterday is the only person that you're in competition with. So just being mindful of that and reminding yourself of that, I think
Yes.
has been very monumental. But yeah, like
I love that,
yeah.
Aisha. I
Yeah.
love that. And like mic drop because you pulled so many golden nuggets. So I really, really appreciate that. And it's massive and important. Nicole, I'm going to give you the same question.
Yeah, wow, can I ever resonate with what Summer and Aisha are saying? Boundaries, I'll be honest, is something I came here really hoping that Summer and Aisha would give some really good pointers on, is what I'm trying to channel right now too. It is so hard. And like Aisha says, she identifies as an empath. I'd like to know how many female entrepreneurs do that have, especially that, yeah, that have experienced mental health challenges. I think we're just drawn to it, right? So being an empath and trying to have boundaries is so incredibly hard. Yeah, so that's what I'm hoping I can get from this group, and I need to work on that. I I always say my counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist, and life coach all say I need better boundaries. Um, but it's true. And what I've found, just one tip that's imperative for me is structure. And I learned that with mental health in general, with depression, actually, that structure of the day is very important. So I apply that to my work life. So for me, it sounds so silly, but to structure a violin class or to structure a volleyball game, to structure time with friends, like to book it in my calendar and be like, this is crazy, but I'm booking a date with Dhorea in a month, really helps me keep on track on keeping those boundaries and keeping better mental health. Because, yeah, I could give all day. I bet you all of us here can feel that. We could give all day, right?
Yes, and so well said. And you know what? The power of this panel is that we're sharing things that we all needed to be reminded of, and to know that here's the thing about community. We know that we're not alone. This isn't when you think, oh, this is a me problem. As soon as we come collectively together like this and share each other's stories and triumphs and challenges, we go, oh, right. Okay, everybody else is going through it as well. So thank you for that. The next question, and this is a beautiful yet loaded one. This year's International Women's Day theme is Give to Gain, emphasizing the power of connection and support for women entrepreneurs. How has your business enabled you to give back or support healing and community? And how has that generosity shaped your own growth and networks you rely on? I'll start with you, Summer.
Absolutely. So when I created Golden Girl, just for a little bit of context, it was actually right in the middle of the pandemic. So I was working full time. I was working from home. It wasn't out of a need for, I was gonna like, I just want to make a jewelry business today. It was actually to create community, because of the isolation that a lot of us were facing at that time. So there was obviously a lot of loneliness. And if you suffer from depression or certain mental illnesses, you know that loneliness feels like despair, right? So there are going to be moments where I kind of sat there and I said, I can feel like crap in this. I'm isolated, cut off from my friends or family, or I can try to do something positive from it. So the need for a systemic change within both women's healthcare and endometriosis specifically, which is kind of my focus on the women's side, and mental health care was what I focused on to kind of create that community. So it's created so many opportunities for me that I'm endlessly grateful for. I'm the run director for Ottawa's only run to end endo, which is an endometriosis run that we do across Canada. It's the only run in support of endo right now. So that's been something I've done for the last 4 or 5 years. So that's a really big one. And it is just a community event. It's really not about running at all. You don't have to run if you're in the area and want to join. I don't run. But I've been donating and I donated with all of my sales for the first year. I've raised awareness by sharing my story, other people's stories of those who have struggled with endometriosis and mental illness. It's created opportunities for advocacy, obviously, kind of like what we're doing here today. I wouldn't be here without Golden Girl and the opportunities that it's opened up for me. But I think the biggest thing for me and that really has created like that sense of purpose was that I've connected with people who felt safe to share their struggles with me because I was comfortable enough to do that for myself or vulnerable enough to do that for myself. So I've
Wonderful.
helped friends get diagnosed with endo and didn't know what they were struggling with, who've sought out therapy that weren't comfortable going to therapy before, kind of breaking down those boundaries and those walls, and making us a little bit more less hesitant, I should say, to rely on each other, and kind of
Yes.
use our support networks. You know what I mean?
So beautiful, and I love that. And this is what the power of bringing your story to light shifts the trajectory. And here's the biggest thing: we don't often even understand the ripple effect that we have. We think we're in this silo and we're doing our thing and this is great. And as soon as you look up and go, "Ah, I've affected this community member, that person, this," it's massive. So Aisha, I will give you the same question. I'm sure I don't need to read it out.
No, I think it's very interesting because this year's theme is actually rooted in giving back. But then I think it's also rooted in mentorship. And I say that because for a lot of us, whatever it is that we do, and I think it goes back to, this idea of most women being empaths, that we always want to, not only build community, but we want to give back in some way, shape, or form. And for me, that's through mentorship. The whole concept of Power to Girls, my Power app is all rooted in like, giving back and like being able to create spaces that make other people feel safe and not having to go through the experience that you go through. So for me, I would say like mentorship is key. And anytime I'm given the opportunity to, speak to other women, speak to anyone else, I always say this, that like, as you are building yourself and as you're climbing up, the ladder, whatever the ladder is, corporate ladder, entrepreneurship ladder, whatever the hypothetical ladder is, do not forget the people that you're leaving behind, that might also need that boost up. Right. So for me, like it really comes down to like mentorship. And I think that's really what it means to me, anyways, that when we are creating community and when we are creating spaces, the question should always be what happens to the people that are not here right now, and what happens to the people that we're leaving behind as we continue in on this journey, and what resources and what support are we putting in place to ensure that when we are no longer around, they still have the support that they need. So that's a question that I always ask myself, but that's also an opening and an invitation that I always give to everyone else to like, really just ask yourself within your communities, within your institutions, always asking what are the systems and the support that we're leaving for the people that are not here right now,
I
but will
love
need
that.
us.
And
Yeah.
it's so true. And here's the thing, grab some mentors and then become a mentor. And what a shift this community and universe will have. Okay, Nicole,
Yeah,
did
I
you
have
to
so
the same
many
question?
thoughts on this.
We only
Um,
have 2 minutes. Remember
I
that.
only have 2 minutes for you. Um, to give is what I've always thought of as the last stage of healing for my mental health. Like I really feel like to give back is that last stage of healing, and it's so important to me. When I started this business, that was like I have different currencies. It's not just income. I have income, giving back, and interacting with inspiring people. So all those things are my currencies. So I think like when I read this, I was like, to gain. And sometimes I've seen entrepreneurs say, well, I'm going to become part of this really important charity and then it's going to make me money. And it literally never works. But when you run a business and you run it out of the thought of service to others, like that's how I feel. I feel like, and I can see Summer and Aisha nodding, to be of service to others in every way that you can is so fulfilling. And the most bizarre thing is that it makes you crap tons of money. And I don't know how it does. I mean, I never knew the word networking when I started this. I had to ask someone, what does that mean? A net of working? I don't understand this. It turns out when you care and you live out of service and you give back, you are networking, and networking is what drives business. It's incredible. So yeah, I think, and just to, Doria, one last thing, you talked about the ripple effect. I've raised so much money for so many charities just by doing little projects. And what I've learned is in one project, I'll make, say $20,000, $7,000 for a charity. And you feel like, is that really much?
It
But
is.
the outreach of it is
Yes.
massive.
Yes.
Some of those projects, I think about the outreach I did for them and where that went and how much money the organization gained just from my interactions and introductions.
And Nicole,
And
you
it's
are so
massive.
right. You are so right. And that's why I'm going to continue to speak about the ripple effect because how you step into a room, how you speak to another human, what you do for community, what you do for yourself, it matters. It matters. And especially as women. So I invite us all to step into that and do what you do best and know that you are shifting and saving and changing and really impacting people's lives. So, because this has been such a beautiful panel and I don't want to ever stop, I'm going to give you one last question. So, we're not sticking to script, but Doria, this is my last question. I felt this was the most important to end on. What advice or encouragement would you give to other women entrepreneurs trying to balance ambition, self care, and giving back? And I'll start with you, Summer.
Absolutely. I think the key word in here is balance. I think as women, and this is going to be a little bit of a rant, but there's this otherworldly pressure to go to the gym, to drink enough water, to eat healthy, to raise good kids, to be confident but still be modest, make time for family, make a lot of money, be successful. And those are a lot of pressures that like society has always just put on us. So my advice would be to remember that you're only human, right? That's a lot to accomplish and it won't happen overnight. Um, I think, relying on support, and this is kind of what this talk is for, is using those networks. Our brain intrinsically and historically is built to use other people and rely on social connection. It's literally built into the neurons in our brain and our cognitive structure. So I think relying on social connection and knowing when you need help is a strength, giving yourself that grace and leading with compassion because balance is extremely difficult and right and self-care does look different for all of us. So just taking that grace and knowing that not everything that works for everyone is going to work for you as well, right? We see a lot of people online saying you need to do this and do this and this, but that might not work for you. So just listening to yourself and listening to your body, I think first and foremost, and knowing what works for you.
Absolutely. And well said. And here's the thing, who made those rules? And why do we have to abide by them? Like at the end of the day, if you're an entrepreneur, you've already decided I'm making the leap. I'm not going by the rules of whoever wrote them. I don't know. And so having said that, write your own path, walk your own journey, uh, knock down those bridges and buildings and all of the things and create something that is forward moving. So I do love that. Thank you for that beautiful gift. Aisha, you're next.
So my advice would be to stay true to yourself, stay true to your calling, and whatever feels good to you. So whatever it is that you find yourself doing, stay true to that. But most importantly, make sure that you're enjoying the process. Because I think along the way, sometimes we're so focused on the end results that we miss out on the entire process. So yeah, stay true to yourself and enjoy the process.
I love that. And here's, I think that that is so massively beautiful and staying authentic in your business, in who you are, however you show up is massive because also what it does is it gives others permission to be authentic and be who they are. And isn't that what we really all want from this life? And here's the one thing I will say, the only thing we can't get back in this life is time. So create precious memories and moments. Nicole,
Yeah,
Leave us.
I echo Summer and Aisha. It's just, you know, when we look at the pyramid of achieving, and that bottom level is always self-care. So like they said, whatever is self-care for you. Like I think one of my self-care things is laying on my left side. I don't know why, but like Summer says, do what works. So I do what works. To have, if you don't care for yourself, you will not be able to achieve anything, right? Like I think probably everybody with any mental health illness knows that's the case. And then one thing that's kind of quirky to just to talk on is I had a city councilor once tell me this, and it shocked me, but he said, to be in balance, you have to be willing to accept as well. And I think that's often what a lot of times what women forget is that it's okay to make money. And in fact, when we make money, we have more ability to give out to others. So he said to me, I'm worried about you. You're gonna burn out because you want to give, give, give. He's like, you have to be willing to accept as well through your business, right? So yeah, those two things, just really taking care of yourself and keeping in balance and know it's okay to make money. It's okay
Right.
to thrive that way, and it allows you to give more.
I love that, Nicole, and thank you for leaving us on that note, because here's the thing. As entrepreneurs, we give and we give. Um, Try receiving. I'm working on it currently. It's a bit of a uncomfortable, wonderful, exciting, excellent, wild thing, but receive, because then there's reciprocity in the house, right? And there's this give and this take, and then everything is balanced. Oh, we're gonna open it up to questions. You guys did great. I wish everybody in the room virtually could stand and applaud for you, because this was next level. Yes, I love all of the clapping and everything. So we are going to open the floor to questions from our audience. Please share in the question chat or raise your hand to ask a question. Unfortunately, we have just a little bit of time, so maybe one or two questions, but it's your chance to ask the panel. Wonderful. Give me a moment. Oh, we're coming in hot. Okay, question. What one boundary has been game changing for you? I'll go with Aisha. Go ahead.
One boundary that has been game changing for me. Definitely the email thing. I think that was like it was really important for me to put that out there as well, because sometimes I work at odd hours. But then the other one too is like when I am feeling overwhelmed and I'm feeling like everything is just crushing in, just taking a breather and sleeping. Like just letting everyone know I need a break and I need to sleep on it. Yeah, so just being able to sleep on stuff has been great for me.
I love that. The 24, 48, 72 hour rule. Like, you know what I mean? Give yourself the space and the breadth and the time to let it ruminate and decompress, and for you to understand what it is you're saying yes to and what it is you're saying no to. Okay. We have another one. Oh, nope. Is that a question? Oh, I will say from Adjoa, amazing sharing and information. Summer, Aisha, and Nicole, thank you for being so open. Do we have another question? Oh, yes, we do. How do you deal with not getting support from people in your personal life? Wait, and then there's a second part. Or when the support doesn't look the way you expect it. I wish I could answer this, but I won't. Nicole, I'll start with you.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And I think I learned really early on to have very low expectations is one of the best things. But also, um, I have this mantra in my head that says, look down, do the work. Look, keep your head down, do the work. Go, go, go. Just do the work and put all of the noise out here. You know, my mother-in-law saying this, my father saying that. Put it all up here, Nicole. You know your path. You do it. So the least expectations you can have, and just knowing that you're on the path that's right for you.
Oh, I love that. And you know, it sounds counterintuitive to lower your expectations, but then your heart, you're protecting your heart. It's like, so I do a lot of networking and a lot of speaking, and I hug myself before I go out because I'm an empath as well. And I take on so much. And so that's my way of sort of protecting myself. So like, again, remember these little nuances of things that you do that can basically save you. It's like putting your oxygen mask on first. What I'm going to do, Summers, I'm going to ask you the same question. How do you deal with not getting support from people in your personal life, or when the support doesn't look the way you expected it to?
That's a really hard question. I think for me, like with the theme of mental health and being an empath, like we've kind of reiterated, it's not trying to take it personally, not taking it for more than it is. Like sometimes we expect our friends or our family to see us for everything that we are, but we haven't always communicated that side of us or what our needs are and what our expectations are. So it's not really something that's fair to harbor resentment for. So I think taking a step back and making sure that, hey, this is communicating what maybe you did need in that moment. If you are willing to express yourself and your needs, hopefully they're going to honor that. If they're not, then maybe there's other people in your circle that are better suited to handle certain situations, because not everyone is, and that's okay, right? We can't expect that from everyone. So I think it has kind of do with that expectation thing, but that's a really really good question, and it's a really challenging thing to navigate for sure.
Absolutely. And I didn't get to ask because I know we're almost out of time, but I wanted to also, since you've already got your mic on, Summer, the boundary question. Let me go back to what the
Boundary
exact
question.
question. What one boundary has been game changing for you? I got you, fam. I got you. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. My memory is absolutely terrible.
No, it's okay.
For me, I'm terrible with boundaries, so I will preface this with that is something I'm working on and I will always continue to work on. So I think a tool that I've kind of been trying to use would just be figuring out what it is that's making me feel the most fulfilled and focusing on that. And that's kind of how I focus on like prioritizing my tasks or setting boundaries. So is it kind of that big picture thing? Is it worth getting, worked up on? Is it something I can take a break on, come back to? Um, I know that's not directly answering the question, but that's just kind of the way I've tried to reshape it and reflect, I think, has been the biggest thing for me in that. I go to therapy often and we reflect, it's what we do, but there is a lot of benefit to doing that. So, kind of looking at everything, taking that breather, kind of like Aisha was saying, coming back to it, sleeping. Like if my brain is needing a reset because I'm just not feeling up to it that day, I will take a nap and kind of reset everything that's going on there. So, listening to your body, I think, and just going from there.
I love that. And so we have a saying in mental health and addiction that I've used for years. It's called HALT. Never get too hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. And it's taken from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So when you're at baseline, i.e., not too hungry, too lonely, too angry, too tired, you can then, your brain comes back online and you can start to think clearly in different ways. So, halt, just remember that because that's the basis. And then you can start to think clearly. So, and that includes sleep, right? You know what I mean? So, you actually answered the question spectacularly. Okay, Nicole, we're going to give you the same question, and then I'm going to do some final thoughts and we're going to wrap it up. And yeah, you have all been so spectacular. Thank you for your kindness and your graciousness of this beautiful day on International Women's Day. Go ahead, Nicole.
Incredible. Same thing, boundaries. I think we should do an online workshop about that, you guys. Like let's get together after this. The biggest thing for me is that darn phone. So to have scheduled times where I put it away, we actually bought a safe with a lock and key. And to not feel the need to respond to texts. I know a lot of business owners will not give their clients their texts, but I just become their friends. Like, was it Summer that was saying that too? I can't remember, but it's like these are our clients become our friends. I call them clients. But that means a lot of texts. So I have certain times in the day where I'm allowed to look at texts and respond to texts. And sometimes it'll go for many days. And I just have to be okay with the thought that I don't respond all the time.
I love that. I love that. And thanks for responding to me, your accountability buddy.
I respond
and
to you almost every time, Dhorea.
I know. And here's what I will say. Find an accountability buddy. Nicole and I are that for each other. Every morning we do a little accountability, and it can be as small as like, are you up? Are you this side of the sun? You know, so here's what I will say. Moments like this that Rise and community create for International Women's Day, the trajectory that we've had to step in to get here is massive. And then for you, the panelists, to take your time and energy, and the community to support and rally beside you and listen and be engaged and ask questions and create this feeling, even though it's virtual. Like, isn't it palpable? I can feel it. I know y'all can feel it, right? This is amazing. This is how we create change. This is how we create safe spaces. This is how we create futures. And this is how we create entrepreneurship. I want you to take this feeling with you and go share it with your community. Share it with those that you love. Share it with whoever needs to hear this, because you have no idea what you're doing for the rest of us. So, sticking to story and script, I will follow with final thoughts, but I had to thank each and every one of you. Beautiful souls, keep shining bright. That brings us to the end of this session. I want to thank our brilliant panelists for your sharing your thoughts, your expertise, and your amazing audience for your questions. We weren't able to get all of your questions in the chat, so if your question wasn't answered and you have the time, please stick around. Our panelists have agreed so graciously to stay on the call for a few minutes to make sure that we get everyone. I'd like to extend our deepest thanks to the Government of Canada's Women Entrepreneurship Strategy for their unwavering support today for Rise Women Plus Entrepreneurship Program, and most of all, today's panel. If you'd like to know more about Rise and learn about our programs, please visit risehelps.ca. Please go visit risehelps.ca. Or you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We're all over the place. And if you felt that this was in any way important, say something, right? Wonderful. And we just want to say have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I believe there is a quiz and a feedback. And I will now let you all go. And those of you who want to stay, we're grateful for your time and energy. Thank you, everyone. And